Welcome to Lighten Up Talk Radio with Michael and Lee. Join us with topics that wake up the connection to your soul. You can listen to us at lightenuptalkradio.com. Welcome, friends, to another episode of Lighten Up Talk Radio. It is Sunday, June 24th, and Lee and I are broadcasting from Dandridge, Tennessee on this very warm, sunny day.
Hello, everyone out there. We are so happy to be sitting in this air-conditioned room.
Absolutely. And you know, last week we didn't do a recording, so we're excited to be back in the recording seat. And it feels like a fresh start today.
It does. It really does. It's like the first, I feel like it's like the first time we've been on the air again.
It's funny how that is. The things are evolving so quickly now. It's just... It really is like starting over. We had a funny story today sitting down here because normally we just kind of jump on the air, and we sat here and played with the cards a little bit, and Lee grabbed a book. She said, "Oh, hand me that book over there." And it's a book that has passages relative to a specific day. Is that right?
It's the daily, yes. It's
daily passages.
It's by Sarah Young.
I think you ought to just read at least the heading or give us a quick synopsis, because we got to start with our story before getting started today, so we can get on track with what we're going to be focusing on.
Well, this book has been great, and I've just had it just a couple of days. So anyway, it's you read it every day, and it gives you a message, and it's been just wonderful. And today's message was "Hold My Hand and Trust." And it actually gives you in a spiritual type manner how to read it, and then it interprets it down at the bottom to where you can actually go to the Bible and you can read the actual verse out of the Bible as well. My mentor was the one that actually told me and a friend of mine to get this book about, I guess it's been about 6 months ago.
That's cool.
And it's been pretty incredible.
Well, it was great because when you were opening that book and started reading it, I was just grab the Archangel Raphael Oracle card deck, which was sitting behind me, and the card that just one popped out of the deck, and the other one is the one that I picked, and the one that I picked was Have Faith, which was in alignment totally with the passage of what you were saying, and the card that flipped out was about staying positive right now. And then for some reason, we were drawn to grab another card out of the daily guidance deck, and it was See Only Love. So, and amongst all of that, our whole week, at least I know mine has, I know listening as we were talking over lunch, Lee's had some similar stories too, but my week's really been about staying positive.
Right.
Amongst the challenges, and having faith that everything is unfolding, even though the challenges arise, and utilizing each challenge as that true opportunity that it is to shift the old pattern,
right?
The old way of looking at it, and see from the positive perspective. Because only really abundance comes when you can see that positive perspective and know that it's there, expect it. So today we're going to get into all kinds of stories.
Yes, we are, but there's one thing I'd like to add to that, what you just said, Michael. I think it's been very helpful when you also have a person that you can kind of share things with. I think a lot of times that when you're just on your own, you try to handle everything on your own, that you get too much into it. You sometimes are very in depth with the topic, and maybe you're not seeing all sides of that topic. Yeah. And I think it's very important to have at least one person that you can bounce things off from, you can be very open with, no matter what you say, no matter what you do, no matter whatever the situation is, that person just takes it as it is.
Yes.
And there's no judgment there whatsoever. I know it was, I was reminded of that in a session about a week ago in a circle that I was in, of how important that it is to have at least one person in your life that you have really no secrets with. There's no reason to have that. And if it's embedded in you, you still have fear about talking about it, and find that person that you can just say anything to them. It makes no difference, to where there's no judgment. And if that person has judgment, then you need to change friends and get you one that doesn't. So that can go either way. Mm-hmm. But I think it's very important to do that. And in the energy of 2012, it's always been important to do that. But this year it's very important to do that. Because this is a year of getting rid of and to shed some of the old thought patterns that you have. And just kind of put on new clothing. Just shed the old off and put the new on. And go into a totally different lifestyle. A totally different thought pattern that is just totally in a positive mode. I just love this card because my Archangel Raphael, it states to say positive and then have faith. And that's so important that both really go together with that. Mm-hmm. Because staying positive, at times, people kind of fade in and out of that. And when you can really get into your own soul, which is totally in the soul to stay positive. Your soul is a very positive, that runs your whole self. And when you stay there, then you're so much happier. You just have faith that you'll always have abundance and that you will always have clarity in your mind and clarity in yourself and to know who you are. I had a person say to me about 2 weeks ago now that, I always took a lot of things on myself, and which I understand exactly what that person was saying. I always felt like things was my fault, and I really had to look through that mirror and kind of look at myself and say, it was not your fault. I'm saying that there's no judgment on either side of whose that it was, and I know sometimes that I'm sure that I could have been an influence, that maybe wasn't as positive as what I should have been by then, but that was when I was young and didn't know any better like I do now. I try to stay in a very positive mood. But I think that, you have to look at both sides of the situation, but then when you look at that, you don't take on any more than what you felt like that you deserved out of that. And you have to shed it and let it go. And that is what 2012 is. It's about, we've waited for years for this year to come. And for us to be halfway through this year, if you haven't shed off the things that you should have taken off that you've lived with all your life that just don't serve you anymore. It really has never served you. But now it's just coming and it's knocking you right in the face. Mm-hmm. and it's time to just really sit, be quiet. When I get into that type, I call it my little funky mode sometimes, I'll just go and I'll sit down. And it might be 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I shut my eyes. I get totally into the energy of the above. And I think to myself, this is just the human in me thinking this way. This is not the holistic way for me to think and not the godly way for me to think and the spiritual way for me to think. So get out of it. And it's amazing how it will totally be taken away. And those type of situations have really come up in the last couple of weeks. And I feel much better. I feel like a totally different, renewed person than I did when I was on there 2 weeks ago. So that's what I'm saying. It can happen that fast. It can happen in a second. You just have to stay positive.
I'm so with you with the last couple of weeks because I've had several of those stories. And I was reminded of, you were talking about having people in your life. I know that we have been that a lot over the last couple of years, been where we could share pretty much anything. And have another friend that I was talking with the other day, and she helped me see something too. I got a new car this week, which was a fun experience. I'd actually gone, whenever I get the urge to look at vehicles, it always means a big change is happening in the physical as well as the spiritual side. There's something, as far as my journey goes, that's changing. And so this had happened. I'd started getting the Desire back in February, and I had gone into the dealer, and it just didn't work. There was no match, and the price range to what made sense and felt right for me was not there. And so, I just left it. When you find another vehicle, because the one that I like, there weren't that many of them. It's kind of a unique one. Just give me a call, and we'll go from there. But give me a couple months. So anyway, I got a call a couple days ago. And when I got the call, I immediately took in my head the negative road. And I was not aware of it. I was not aware that I was kind of being a Debbie Downer. And I was going, oh, but, I really ought to wait until, I'm a little better off financially and all that stuff. It's probably not going to work anyway because it didn't work 3 months ago, and we were way off 3 months ago. So how's it going to work now? I played that little tape, and I happened to be with my friend, and she goes, you really just need to go, and you need to stay open. And she just was real clear, and and it just snapped me out of it. And I went into the dealer just totally free with that. Free with any possibilities, and if I didn't get it, that was okay too. But it just cleared me out. Mm-hmm. And within a very short time, it became evident that this was a lot different going in this time. I mean, it wasn't even the same ball game. The salesman acted different. Everyone was acting different. And it was a reminder to me how what I took in there was a lot of resistance back in January or February whenever I had gone back in there too. It wasn't the right time either, but there was also a lot of resistance going on, and I'm sure there was some sort of the match alignment there too. But this time going, it was total freedom. I was just going to go have fun, see if I still like the car, and, whatever. So anyway, with that thought, I went in there, and before I knew it, I came out with a car that was a total win-win scenario. Better than I ever imagined the deal would ever work out. And when I was in the deal, they even came back and said that I still had some extra dollars that they didn't realize were still in there from the car that I was trading in. And so it was beyond my expectations good. And so anyway, it was just a reminder to what we're talking about today and this week about staying positive and staying open, like the open to possibilities, because our mind can shut them down, just as what happened to me. My mind could have shut that down if I didn't have my friend who said, stay open. And so as Lee, you were talking about earlier, that importance of having, our support systems and the physical too that help us snap us out of it when we go into as I was in the Debbie Downer mode with that.
The Michael Downer.
Yeah, the Michael Downer mode with that. And then to finish up that story, I had a friend who was actually looking at the similar cars. And so I went back in with her the next day to introduce her,
right,
to the person that I went to. And the general manager comes running up to me and says, could I see you for a minute? And long story short, he ended up reducing it even more. And I just was like, oh, wow. That was just a beautiful, not only did it break all the paradigms of what you think about going into a dealer and what people think, but it broke me out of my own thing, reminding me that all of my dreams are coming true. Just stay open.
This is the year of abundance. We're all are in the energy of abundance. It's just going into your positive mood and actually visualizing what abundance that you really need and to focus on that. And it's very interesting. I was writing a few notes while you were speaking that, when you have the thought or the vision of what you want, it's very important to take that action. You must take action. It really, if it just sits with you, and you just think about, well, this wouldn't, just kind of like what you talked about, how this is going to work. It's not the same. You must take action. Mm-hmm. And when you go into your action mode, it will work itself out. If it doesn't, then you're not supposed to have it at that time. But you still keep the thought, and it's pretty amazing, because give yourself a few weeks, and you might not even have that thought again. Because you know what? You might not have been thinking as big as what you really should have been thinking. So every time that I've always been in that energy of not going there and getting maybe what I thought about, and guess what? it just multiplies that much more because I wasn't looking for enough. So when you look for, and that's really what happened, it had to put the thought pattern in you to look for it. And when you went back a second time, you were open because you had already got your first blessing. Okay, so you were open to receive your second blessing. And, all of that is around putting yourself in action because that's exactly what you did. And that's exactly what the car dealership did. They put themselves in action. And that can happen within anything that you do. It's all around the faith of it and just moving on it. I would like to say that I've had several instances myself, and I've been put in a situation in the past, really 2 weeks, that I've had people that they didn't even know what I do or what any belief pattern of what I have or what I've done in my past or any of that. 'Cause I really don't go too much into that with anybody as far as careers, because I'm just a totally different person now than what I used to be. I don't have the corporate jarhead on me anymore. And it's just totally just looking for blessings and having the faith in it. But I was sitting on a bench at a shopping mall yesterday. And this gentleman was sitting there, and we struck up a conversation. And I know you can't believe that I can really strike up one. But he was from Mississippi. And he was on vacation in Pigeon Forge. And he had told me that he was sitting in a cabin and that it's the first time he'd ever rented a cabin, this, that, and the other. And he was in a manufacturing business, but he also did mortgage work. Mm. So I was pretty much listening to pretty much doom and gloom with the mortgage type stuff, what's going on. And I have a friend that also owned that type of business that closed it down. And I just reinvented myself at that moment. And I said, he said, I don't know whether that it'll ever get back to the way that it was. And I looked him straight in the eye. I said, you really want it to be that way? And when I said that, just that one comment, he looked at me and he says, no, not really. And I said, then you need to start thinking about what you really want the future to look like in your life. And don't think about what the past has been. Because we're so much further in the forward movement of us than looking to the backward movement of us.
Oh, my God, that's awesome.
And he just kind of stopped. And I'd say this gentleman was probably in his mid-50s, I would say. He just kind of stopped. And he said, I've never thought about it that way. As he was talking about the election and all this. And I said, well, really, does that really make any difference? It really doesn't make any difference. Because, each person in the world makes a difference of how we move ourselves toward the direction of being positive and loving each other. It's not around who's president. It's not around the government. It's not around the interest rates being this or that and the other. It's around us actually putting our own heads together and visualizing what we really want out of life and going for it. So, my suggestion is you can sit there all day long and talk about the negatives. That really does no one any good. You need to be sitting there and putting your positive mind of exactly what you want. And the example that Michael just gave you was a perfect example of going for it. And I just got a hit on the ceiling of this.
We get lots of messages sitting here.
We've gotten some messages. That was a hit on the ceiling here of you always go that direction. And just, and you can manifest anything in your life that you want. And that can go both ways. So make sure that when you're thinking on the negative part, switch your mind at that very moment and have that one word that stops your thought pattern at that time and go forward.
Absolutely. That was a beautiful story. I hadn't heard that one.
No, that was just yesterday.
Wow.
So that was great.
Yeah, it's such an amazing time to really stay focused on what it is that you desire truly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, 2 weeks ago, I'll go back again. 2 weeks ago, I had 3 vehicles break down in a week. 3. I only have 3, so I had my 3. And each day, one of them would break down. It was very interesting how that worked itself out. Because I'm thinking, what in the world is going on here? Well, I had just been told by a friend of mine the week prior that I needed to slow down because I needed rest. And I needed to sit, and I needed to really rest, and because I, do quite a bit of work outside, with other people. Mm-hmm. And it was time for me to take my rest. And it just came to me. These 3 vehicles have actually gone to the shop to be repaired due to I just need to rest, and this keeps me right here to do that, where I need to be. Well, one of them broke down up in Knoxville, and the record driver picked me up, but it took them over 2 hours to get to me, and they told me 45 minutes. I had been lost in the computer system, and their computers had gone down. So needless to say, I didn't realize, and they finally called me back and they said, hey, he's on his way, and it still took another hour, okay? Well, 3 days later, I get this coupon in the mail from this company, and they're giving me a $10 rebate back on my yearly fee because of me having to sit there longer than the 45 minutes. I never complained about it. I just sat there and never expected it. And what a blessing that was that it came. So that's what can happen when you manifest something. It can.
That's beautiful.
And then the other situation was that both vehicles were they were very minor. What was wrong with them? And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I wonder what this is going to be. And then I'm thinking, it doesn't make any difference how much did it cost, because whatever that is, I'll have it. And I did. I even went out to eat. And I asked the mechanic to go with me because I felt like he'd done such a great job. He needed to go eat with me too.
That's cool. And you know what? I was reminded of, because you left off a part of the one story when you were sitting, waiting, and the alignment of the person that actually had to come and get you. You ended up there was an opportunity for you to help that person.
That's correct. And
the divine synchronicity and the timing of all that, and you got a blessing of abundance.
Well,
that followed.
It was, and it was very interesting too, because also this gentleman that was driving the wrecker, he had actually had another call, and he wasn't even supposed to come pick me up. It was another call he was supposed to have, and then he realized, I guess they have the computer and things in their trucks, and so he realized that my call had been before this other person's call. So he called his buddy with the company he worked for and had the buddy go get the other car, and he came pick me up. And he told me this story. On the way back, he's bringing me home, which is about a 45-minute drive. And he's talking about, some of the things that had happened in the family environment, and I'm just sitting there listening. And a lot of times, believe it or not, I do try to listen to people without and don't really say what I do for my purpose, But it got to the point, about 5 minutes away from that garage, I just had to say it. I said, all this stuff that you've been telling me about, I said, it's pretty negative stuff. And I went through all the positives of how he could have thought about this a little bit differently than the way that he handled it. And he got real quiet. And he said, you're right. I never thought about it that way. And I just thought to myself, boy, what a blessing that is to be able to just, regardless of strangers or whatever, is to be able to put that message out there in a positive mode to where this could, he's 26 years old. He could have just changed his whole life in just a second. And I think that it's the responsibility for all of us to be able that when a person is in need, or if maybe they don't know they're in need, but you can at least say something positive to them, that where they can pick up something to go with. And it's just total blessings all the way around.
I think it's just a part of being yourself.
It is.
And as I'm learning in my life, when those messages, no matter who is there, when it comes to you, you just have to speak it.
Right.
And when you have to speak it. And even if you get a little cringe, or a little, oh, but what are they going to, you just got to go through it.
Well, and I think that when you see only love, it always works.
Yeah.
I believe that you can say anything to anybody in a loving type manner, and it's okay. Mm-hmm. Because my thoughts about that is that it would not come to me if I wasn't to say it. Mm-hmm. It just wouldn't, and it would not filter through me to say that. I would be stopped to where it would never even hit my mind to be able to even come back and say anything. So I think that when you really get into the positive mode of life, that you will always say the right thing at the right time.
And if you remember, you all out there, that See Only Love was one of our other cards today. Mm-hmm. 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 That is so true. I've had that so many experiences. It's just an automatic knowing when people feel it when you're not judging them. You're just speaking from a place of love and truth. I say a lot, my brother and some of the people in my family, we say truth and love is kind of like a greeting or a thing, because really they're one and the same, but they're still unique parts of the whole picture. When you're in love and you speak your truth, or vice versa, mm-hmm. It's always a win-win situation.
It always is.
Totally.
It is.
Totally.
And I also say that, at times you might have to wait. Mm-hmm. Because the timing is right.
Have faith.
You have faith. There's the next card. You have faith.
Stay positive.
And looking at this card is very interesting to me, because you got a gentleman and an angel over here, and it's Jesus and Archangel Raphael. It's it's thanking you for all the faith. At times, timing is everything. Mm-hmm. And I think when the timing's perfect for both parties, that it just works. And I think people at times speak out of anger, or they speak out of having to be right.
Which is
they feel like it's
ego.
I must be right. Ego. I must be right. Mm-hmm. And that's not going to work. And you have a lot of hard feelings sometimes with families for years, or with friends for years. And it's just really not worth that, because that's not what life is about. That's not what the divine put us here to be. And it all goes back, I would say, of going into yourself. Mm-hmm. I keep going there. So many people, I call them monkey brains. They just can't even stop long enough to even think about anything. And if you really, any situation that you're in, it makes no difference what it is. I had a friend this week, her refrigerator blew up. Had water all over the floor when she woke up. And she called about it. She said, "Oh, God, we've got waiting on this guy to come fix the refrigerator," and this, that, and the other. And I'm thinking to myself, there's a reason why that water's coming out from your refrigerator, because obviously that meeting you were supposed to go to today is not one you need to be at. You see how you can always think that way. Mm-hmm. You always take that side of it. It's not, the negative side. You look at what was the positive thought around that.
Yes.
It was just kind of like my 3 vehicles breaking down. Nothing major, but they broke down. I had to have 2 towed in 2 days, okay? And I'm thinking to myself, there's a reason for this, and then it just came to me. It's because you're supposed to be sitting at home, and you're supposed to be resting your head, and you're supposed to be resting your body. And so the way for you to do this is that the cars are in the shop. And there's no transportation to where you can do that. And you know what? I've got it now. Cars don't have to go anymore. They don't have to go down anymore. Because the last week and a half since this happened, if I feel the least bit to where I need to sit down in a chair and just take a nap for 30 minutes, 45, whatever that is, I'm going to bed. If I go in there, maybe watch a little TV to relax myself, then I just go to sleep. But I'm taking my time to do that. So that really put me in focus of showing something that was said to me. I had chosen not to do that for a couple of days, and all of a sudden the divine says, okay, this is it. Now we're going to totally stop you. And what a blessing that's been. Because no matter what the expenses of that is, I could have gone into all that funky type mode.
Drama.
I looked at it as I'll always have enough, and whatever that is, it's okay. It'll be there.
And so it is.
And so it is. That's exactly right.
That's cool. I keep being brought to this thought about prayer plus action equals results. Mm-hmm. Prayer to me being the intention, and without an action step, which is what we've been kind of going, an undertone of what we've been talking about today, you have to take an action step. And sometimes even an action step is rest. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes we forget to rest when we have our busy schedules, that sometimes we need to rest and just let go, let pull our energies back from controlling everything and give the reins back to the divine. Because really the only thing that we have a control of is taking an action and or our thoughts and what we attach to of our thoughts. We don't really have much else control. If you try, then it's going to come back, bounce,
circle right back
around. That's a good way to put it.
Right back around again. And don't fool yourself. Uh-huh. There's people that just try to fool themselves all the time and say, well, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it 3 years from today, or, this, that, and the other. And that's just, you put it out there because, if you really have a purpose there and you really can get into what that purpose is, most of the time, the reason why you're not going to the positive mode of finding that purpose is because of the fear. Mm-hmm. So don't fool yourself. A lot of people fool themselves and say, well, I don't have time, I don't have the money, don't have the place, don't have this, don't have that. And it's really around fear.
Procrastination.
It's around the fear. Mm-hmm. And you've got that is your number one step, is to step out from the fear and just go for it. You just got to go for it. And it will always work out because you always have the divine around you. Because if it wouldn't, you wouldn't have thought in the first place. Mm-hmm. I always say that. You're not going to have that thought in the first place. The people, you have positive thoughts that come to you. What happens is that you change them. You change them. And when you change them is where you get yourself in trouble. If you just go with the first thing that comes to you, that's it.
Yeah, what I'm hearing out of this is listening, because for some people it's procrastination is an old habit, and for others, nonstop action is an old habit. And learning to listen to your body, listen to the signs all around us that happen throughout the day, being quiet enough and mindful enough to see them. But just listening to know what it is, I think that everyone, if they were to just stop for a moment, who tends to be a procrastinator, could recognize that, wait a minute, I keep getting this message over and over again. I really need to just take an action step. It's time for me to just do it, like you were saying. Just do it. Or if you're one, I can span both of those at times, but in probably more of the cases, it's about time for me just to rest, just to step back and just rest. It'll happen when it's supposed to happen. And you'll know, as you always do, and I always do, get the message when I'm supposed to take an action. And it's just doing it. So finding that balance, again, the balance thing's been coming up a lot for me lately too, with just even what I'm talking about right now, the rest versus doing, and all of those kind of things. Just let things happen in their own time, and you will, and I will know when I need to take a step.
And it has to be with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I will speak about a situation when people have children, that they get so tied up in their children that they take on all their children's stuff too. So as the parent, they can't even get into their own self because they're so involved about what their children is going to do. And, you have to release that. I understand if you have very small children, that's a different story. I'm talking about when they get up into, teenage, younger age or older age, whatever that is. But how, the excuses is always, I've never had time to do anything for myself because I'm taking care of grandchildren, I'm taking care of children, whatever I'm doing. Yeah, you've had the chance to do it. You just chose not to. That is nothing but the excuse again. Because when the children, your children have their children, it is their children, not your children. You can be the grandparent and just enjoy them, whatever that time frame is. But you've got to live your own life, and you've got to take time to get into your own self. Even as young parents, you need to do that. It's just like I was talking about this gentleman, the wrecker. I mean, they're expecting a child in about 3 months. And all I was thinking about, wow, because there was quite a bit of some violence and things that was going on there. And I was thinking to myself, wow, just sit back and just really look at yourself, what's going on. Because you don't want to bring this child into this type of situation. And, you know, as a parent, sometimes you just have to step out of that picture. And you just have to just get more into yourself. I've been a much better parent since I have gone in to looking after me instead of looking after grown children. So I can speak about that. Because you always have the tendency to want to go there because they're your children. But you just need to back it off. And I'm who I am, and they are who they are. And on the reverse side of that, they're not going to go into my energy either. Whatever I am as a person, they're not going to change me from what I know that's right for me. So it can go both ways. Mm. I mean, I hear people say, "Oh, if I didn't hear from my daughter in 3 or 4 hours, I would think that she'd had a car wreck or this and the other." And I think to myself, "My heavens, that's not really faith."
No,
that's not faith.
No. And
when you step out with the faith, then all the rest of it just kind of goes away. It's the belief system in God. God will always protect us, and we all have our own journey. And we all have our own protectors. It doesn't have to be the parents.
And that everything is happening in divine design.
It's always in divine timing. Always.
Absolutely.
It's just like, with the car episode. If it had been a wreck episode, it could have been the same difference. Because I needed to stop and I needed to rest as I was told that I needed to do, and I didn't. Mm-hmm. It's just that the grace of God just stopped the cars. I didn't have to have the accident. I did not have to have the accident. You see, so that's grace to me.
Got the message.
That is total grace to me. So you can always look at everything in a positive manner.
Yeah, I think that everything in life, and I don't think I know from my experience that everything in life provides me with direction as to what is going on and what would be a good thing for me to be doing right now. Everything in life. Throughout the day, all the time.
All the time. And you're exactly where you need to be today. And you cannot get ahead of yourself. So, I mean, there's been, I hear a lot of young people at 25 years old. They say, well, I should have been at this age, I need to be doing da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, you know what? If you're not doing it, no, it's not at any age. You might be doing it at 50, or you might not ever be doing it. It depends on whether it's your purpose or not, or whether you really have that desire to do it. There's the action again.
Yeah.
You have to start with baby steps and take the action, and it grows into what your purpose is, because God will take you every step of that way.
And it's like a tree that grows from a little sapling or whatever.
Yep.
You never know what the branches, how they're going to come out and what they're going to look like. Mm-mm. They grow the way they're supposed to and have their own unique expression. Every flower is a little different. It faces the sun over here, one faces it over there. It's just, we all have our own branches, and they each grow uniquely, no matter if they're the same tree. It's just the way it is.
It's the way that it is. And it's the same way with your family. Everybody's different. Yes. I mean, I have 4 children that's totally different, 4 different personalities. And they could really be only children. But that's the way that it was supposed to be. Because everybody was put here for lessons to be learned. And part of those lessons is how to get along with each other, how to love each other in a family manner. And no matter how that person's personality is to be able to say, you know what, that's my brother or that's my sister, and I love them just the way they are.
And so it is.
And so it is.
I have a thought here that a reminder, something that I've used throughout the years, and it's come back this week for me to use it again. And it is an affirmation to use in the morning. And it goes something like this: I am open and available to more good than I have ever experienced, realized, or imagined before. And I use this every day at one time in my life when I was transferring from my old career into the new one. And it literally was the foundation for a lot of change that happened for me. And it's come back in this week for me to continue and reuse this again. Another thought is just the expectation of magic happening every day. Waking up, being open to seeing magic and experiencing magic and experiencing the truth behind the challenges that come up instead of the doom and the gloom or seeing the same old, same old. So I'm putting that out there for you all today, as well as a reminder for myself to wake up every morning. And if you have to write this down or put it somewhere where you can see it and remember it every day, to use one of these or come up with your own.
That's great. I wrote down while you were just saying that, it came to me, enjoy the moment and don't question it.
Beautiful. Well, what a perfect way to sign out for today.
It's been great, Michael.
Lots of love to you all.
Lots
and we'll
of love.
Talk to you again soon.